Early spring is such an exciting time of year with so much to do out in the lawn. But there's a fine line between doing a lot and too much. There are some things you should do, which we talked about recently in a couple videos. I'll leave those linked down below for you. And then there are things you shouldn't do. You have to understand that lawn care is by no means a one-size-fits-all hobby. It's really easy to get caught up in the frenzy of information and find yourself out over your skis. You don't want to waste your time and money doing the right thing at the wrong time. Or better yet, something you don't have to do at all. I'll let you in on a little secret. Late spring and early summer are also exciting times of year with so much to do in the lawn. So don't think about doing these things just yet. I can't tell you how many times I've had this exact thought. It sure would be awesome if I could level my bermudagrass lawn in March or April while the temperatures are pleasant and the grass is still dormant. I've got a scalp anyway, so that would knock out the first step of a leveling project. I'd be fertilizing as well. This sounds too good to be true. 'Cause it is. That's just wishful thinking. Instead, leveling goes more like this. It's as hot as you know what out in June or July. I've got to scalp again and prep the lawn to make it easier for the masonry sand to fall down into the low spots. Another round of nitrogen fertilizer is applied and watered in to ramp up the grass growth. Then a day or two later, it's on to dumping piles of sand all over the place before spreading it around to smooth things out. It's exhausting. Just when you think you're finished, you're not. Now it's time to water, and water some more, and some more. Daily watering for the first week after covering the lawn with sand is important to keep it from drying out. So you may be wondering, if it's such an arduous task in early summer, why didn't you just go ahead and do it back in the spring? Well, here's the thing. Bermuda grass is starting to come out of dormancy then and slowly growing. We've scalped to open the soil up to the sun, heat, and air to help with our green up. Dumping sand all over the place would just defeat the purpose and risk smothering the waking Bermuda. We want the lawn to be vigorously growing so it will quickly emerge through the sand and return back to normal as soon as possible. And in my area, that really doesn't start happening until June or July. Keep in mind, it may be earlier depending on where you're at. And for those same reasons that lead to a speedy recovery, we want to wait until then to do this next task too. If you thought the leveling project couldn't get any more difficult, it most certainly can if you add this to it. You don't have to, but if I ever do, this is when I would. I'm talking about aerating, punching a bunch of small holes into the soil to allow air, water, and nutrients access to the grass roots. Aeration after scalping in the leveling process allows that fertilizer and sand to fall down into those holes. This is especially beneficial if your lawn is composed primarily of hard red clay. It helps reduce compaction, aids in water retention, and slowly modifies the soil structure. But I heard that if you do that, it's like mixing concrete in your lawn. Okay then, ask yourself this. Why do golf courses punch their greens and top dress with sand multiple times a year? That's all I'm going to say about that. It should be pretty obvious so far that these two tasks put a pretty darn good beating on the lawn. That's why we want it to be the prime growing season for our grass type when we do them. This next project doesn't hold back either and should be done around the same time. Thatch is a layer of dead and decaying organic matter between the soil surface and the base of the turfgrass plant. Sometimes we need to remove some of that to allow for better air, water, and fertilizer movement into the soil. The process is called dethatching. Core aerating, which we just talked about, also helps, along with other methods. You're probably most familiar with dethatching by power raking or scarifying, but there's one more that's also a common way to reduce thatch. It's called verticutting. To verticut, you need a specialized machine that cuts perpendicular to the soil surface, unlike a regular lawnmower that cuts parallel. Regardless of which method you choose, don't lose sight of the fact that it's your cultural practices that keep your thatch layer at bay. If you're properly mowing, watering, and fertilizing, you're already preventing excessive thatch buildup. With that in mind, dethatching might not even need to be on your radar at all. You normally don't have to start actively maintaining your thatch layer until it reaches about a half an inch or more of accumulation. And that's great news when you consider that not only will all of these tasks put a beating on the lawn, but they'll beat down your body with the labor too. At least now you know you've got time between early spring in June or July to get in shape. Look, I'm just trying to find the silver lining here. The heat might suck in a few months, but I don't know about you. I struggle physically in the lawn coming out of winter. I don't know if I could do all these things in spring, even if I wanted to. Thanks so much for watching. See you soon.